The first time I heard my wife say she wasn't attracted to me anymore, I was elbow deep in a Mustang's engine at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. The shop window was open to let out the heat, and their voices carried clear as a church bell across our shared driveway. "You're just bored of Dad, Mom," my daughter Tess said, her voice dripping with teenage contempt. "Just admit you want someone with money and a six-pack." I froze, wrench in hand, oil dripping onto my boots. Emily's reply came quick and cold. "I'm just not attracted to him anymore, Tess. Is that what you want to hear?" Well, I thought, wiping my hands on a rag that was already beyond saving. Guess I can cancel that gym membership I never bought, and those candlelit dinners she always complained gave her migraines. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Jack Forrest. I'm 45 years old, and I've spent the last 20 years of my life being exactly what everyone told me a good man should be: loyal, steady, reliable. I run Forrest Auto Body in Millfield, Indiana, a town where the factories closed 15 years ago and never bothered coming back. The kind of place where everyone knows your business before you do, where gossip spreads faster than black ice on Route 9, and where being the nice guy gets you a participation trophy and a knife in the back. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay in bed next to Emily, listening to her breathe, watching the shadows from passing cars slide across our bedroom ceiling like ghosts. 22 years of marriage, a daughter in high school, a mortgage we were 3 months from paying off, and apparently, my wife wasn't attracted to me anymore. The funny thing about betrayal is that once you know it's coming, you start seeing the signs everywhere. They were always there. I'd just been too stupid, too trusting, too goddamn nice to notice them. The next morning, Emily left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'm not ashamed either. I picked it up, swiped it open. She'd never bothered to change her passcode from our anniversary, and there it was, laid out like a roadmap to my personal hell. Text messages, dozens of them, from a contact saved as property manager, which would have been clever if I didn't know for a fact that Emily handled all her own properties. "Thanks for last night, babe. Next time, wear that blue dress. Can't stop thinking about you. When can we meet again? Your husband really doesn't know? LOL. That last one made me laugh. Actually laugh. Standing there in my kitchen in my boxers and a Metallica t-shirt from 1997, holding my wife's phone like it was a live grenade. LOL. Like my marriage was a punchline. I scrolled up, found a hotel receipt from the Riverside Inn, 3 towns over. Found pictures I won't describe because I'm trying to keep my breakfast down. Found a name attached to all of it. Rick Morgan. Of course it was Rick Morgan. Golden boy Rick Morgan, who'd been quarterback when we were in high school, who now ran a mortgage brokerage downtown and drove a vintage Camaro he'd restored himself. Rick Morgan, who was president of the local car club and whose smile had been getting him out of trouble since kindergarten. Rick Morgan, who had a wife named Jennifer and 2 kids and a reputation for being a really great guy. Takes one to know one, I guess. I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it, poured myself coffee, made Emily's too, just like I had every morning for 2 decades. When she came downstairs in her real estate agent power suit, navy blue, not the blue dress, I noted, I handed her the mug with a smile. "Big day?" I asked. "Just the usual showings," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I'll be home late, don't wait up." "Wouldn't dream of it," I said. She kissed my cheek, a habit, nothing more, and walked out the door. I watched her BMW pull out of the driveway, watched her check her hair in the rearview mirror, watched her smile at something on her phone. Then I went to work. Millfield isn't much to look at these days. Main Street has more empty storefronts than open ones. The old textile mill is a rusted skeleton on the edge of town, windows busted out, walls covered in graffiti. The only businesses that survive are the ones people can't do without: grocery store, pharmacy, gas station, and my auto body shop. Forrest Auto Body sits on a corner lot where Route 9 intersects with Oak Street. It's a squat brick building with 3 garage bays, an office that smells like coffee and motor oil, and a waiting room with chairs I bought at an estate sale in 1998. The sign out front is hand-painted, fading but still legible. I own the building outright, same as I own the house Emily and I live in, same as I own the 10 acres of woods behind it where I used to take Tess camping before she decided nature was boring. I built this business from nothing. Started in my parents' garage, moved to a rented bay, finally scraped together enough for a down payment on this place when I was 28. I've fixed every car in this town at least once. I give discounts to seniors and single moms. I sponsor the high school baseball team. I'm a goddamn pillar of the community. And my wife is screwing Rick Morgan. "You look like hell," Marty said when I walked in that morning. Marty Kowalski is 73 years old, built like a fire hydrant, and has been working for me since I opened. He used to be a boxing coach before arthritis got his hands. Now he handles the front desk, orders parts, and tells me when I'm being an idiot, which is apparently his full-time job these days. "Didn't sleep," I said. "Emily." I looked at him. Marty's known me since I was 16, since I showed up at his gym with a black eye and a chip on my shoulder. He taught me how to take a punch and how to throw one. More importantly, he taught me that sometimes the fight isn't about winning, it's about making sure the other guy knows he's been in one. "Emily," I confirmed. He nodded slowly like he'd been expecting this. "You gonna do something stupid?" "Probably." "Good," he said. "About time." I spent the morning under a Honda Civic, replacing a transmission. Physical work helps me think. By lunchtime, I had a plan. It wasn't a good plan. It wasn't even a particularly smart plan. But it was my plan, and that was enough. I drove to the Bluebird Diner on Main Street. The Bluebird is the kind of place where the coffee is always hot, the pie is always fresh, and the waitresses know your order before you sit down. It's also where Rick Morgan eats lunch every Tuesday and Thursday, sitting in the same booth by the window, probably because it gives him a good view of his own reflection. Sure enough, there he was. Pressed khakis, polo shirt, hair styled with enough product to waterproof a deck. He was scrolling through his phone, smiling at something, probably my wife's texts. I slid into the booth across from him. "Jack," he said, looking up with that practiced surprise that probably worked on clients. "Hey man, how's it going?" "Oh, you know," I said. Same old, fixing cars, paying bills, being married. You remember what that's like, right? Being married?" His smile didn't waver, but something flickered in his eyes. "Sure do. Jennifer and I just celebrated 15 years. "Congratulations," I said. "That's really something. 15 years of commitment, loyalty, trust. Must be nice." "It is," he said slowly. The waitress came by. I ordered coffee I didn't want. Rick ordered a salad because of course he did. "I saw Emily's car outside your office last week," I said casually. "Late. Like 9 o'clock late. Didn't know you guys were working together." "Oh yeah," Rick said, recovering smoothly. "Just helping her with some mortgage pre-approvals for her clients. You know how it is." "I really don't," I said, "but I'm learning." We stared at each other across the table. His cologne was expensive. His watch was expensive. Everything about Rick Morgan screamed success, from his capped teeth to his gym membership to his affair with my wife. "Well," he said, checking his watch, "I should probably get going. Got a 1 o'clock. "Sure," I said. "Hey, Rick, that's a nice Camaro you've got. Real nice. Be a shame if something happened to it." He paused halfway out of the booth. "Is that a threat, Jack?" "Just an observation," I said. "You know how it is in this town. Things happen, cars get keyed, tires get slashed, accidents. You need to be careful what you're saying." "I'm always careful," I said. "Unlike some people." He left. I drank my coffee, Through the window, I watched him walk to his car, watched him check it over like he was expecting to find damage. He didn't. Not yet. But as he drove away, I noticed Mrs. Hanley sitting in her ancient Lincoln 2 spaces over. Mrs. Hanley, who lived 3 doors down from me and Emily, who ran the church prayer chain and knew everyone's business. She was staring at me through her windshield, phone in hand. I waved. She didn't wave back. By the time I got back to the shop, my phone was buzzing. 3 texts from Emily. "What did you say to Rick?" "Mrs. Hanley called me. Said you threatened him. We need to talk. Tonight." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started a new folder. I labeled it Evidence. Then I started downloading every photo, every receipt, every text message I could pull from our shared cloud account, from our credit card statements, from anywhere I could think to look. If Emily wanted to talk, we'd talk. But I'd be the one asking the questions. That night, she came home at 7. No pretense of being late anymore. She walked into the kitchen where I was making dinner, spaghetti, nothing fancy, and stood there with her arms crossed. "What the hell was that today?" she demanded. "What was what?" I asked, stirring sauce. "You know what? Rick called me, said you basically accused him of having an affair." "Did I?" I set down the spoon, turned to face her. "Funny. I don't remember using those words." "Jack, are you?" I asked. "Having an affair?" The silence stretched between us like a canyon. I could see her calculating, weighing options, deciding which lie would work best. "No," she said finally. "Of course not. Rick is a colleague. That's all." "Right," I said. "A colleague you text at 11 at night. A colleague you meet at hotels. A colleague you tell your daughter you're more attracted to than your husband." Her face went white. "You were listening. Hard not to when you're screaming in the driveway." "Jack, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," I said calmly. "You meant every word, and that's fine. You're entitled to your feelings. But let's not pretend anymore, okay? Let's not insult each other's intelligence." "So what?" she said, and now there was anger in her voice, defensive and sharp. "What are you going to do about it? Throw me out? Get a divorce? Good luck affording this house on a mechanic's salary." There it was. The truth beneath the truth. Not just that she didn't want me anymore, but that she'd calculated the finances and decided she could do better. "I'm not going to do anything," I said. "Yet." "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, turning back to the stove, "that dinner's ready. You should eat something. You're going to need your strength." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then she grabbed her purse and walked out. I heard her car start, heard her peel out of the driveway fast enough to leave rubber on the concrete. I ate dinner alone. The spaghetti was pretty good. At midnight, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "You're being watched too, Jack. Be careful." I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. But I didn't sleep that night either. The thing about small towns is that they run on gossip the way cars run on gasoline. By Wednesday morning, everyone in Millfield knew that Jack Forrest had confronted Rick Morgan at the Bluebird. By Wednesday afternoon, they knew Emily and I were fighting. By Wednesday evening, they'd picked sides. Most of them picked hers. I shouldn't have been surprised. Emily was charming, successful, active in the community. She volunteered at the library. She organized the annual Christmas fundraiser. She had that particular gift of making everyone she talked to feel like they were the most important person in the room. I fixed their cars and occasionally grunted hello at the grocery store. "They're saying you're paranoid," Marty told me Thursday morning, "that you're jealous of Rick's success, that you're making up stories." "Let them say it," I said. "Jack, you need to be smart about this." "I am being smart. I'm gathering evidence. I'm documenting everything. When the time comes, I'll have what I need." "And what are you going to do with it?" I didn't answer, mostly because I didn't know yet. That afternoon, Tess came to the shop after school. She stood in the doorway to the garage, backpack slung over one shoulder, phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. "Mom says you're losing it," she said without preamble. "Does she?" "Are you?" I slid out from under the Civic I was working on, wiped my hands, looked at my daughter, 16 years old, her mother's eyes, my stubborn chin. When had she gotten so tall? "What do you think?" I asked. She chewed her lip. "I think you heard what I said the other night, about Mom wanting someone with money." "I did. I didn't mean—" She stopped, started again. "I was mad. We were fighting about my curfew, and I said something mean, but that doesn't mean it's true." "Tess," I said gently, "you're not responsible for your mother's choices. Neither am I. People do what they want to do. We just have to decide how we're going to respond." "By threatening Rick Morgan?" I didn't threaten him. I made an observation. "Dad, your mother is having an affair," I said. The words hung in the air between us, sharp and final. I have proof. I'm not paranoid, I'm not jealous, and I'm not losing it. I'm just done pretending everything's fine when it's not. Tess's eyes filled with tears. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "But whatever I do, it won't be because of something you said, okay?" She nodded, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Can I stay here for a while? I don't want to go home yet." "Yeah," I said. "You can stay." She sat in the office, doing homework and scrolling through her phone while I worked. It was the most time we'd spent together in months. It wasn't enough, but it was something. That night, I went to the boxing gym where Marty used to coach. It's still open, run by one of his former students, a kid named Danny who's not a kid anymore, but I can't stop thinking of him that way. The place smells like sweat and leather and liniment. The heavy bags hang from chains that creak when you hit them. It's the kind of place where you can work out your problems with your fists instead of your mouth. I wrapped my hands, put on the gloves, and went to work on a bag. Marty showed up 20 minutes later. Didn't say anything, just held the bag steady while I hit it. Left, right, left, right. Combinations I'd learned 30 years ago, muscle memory taking over. My shoulders burned. My knuckles ached, even through the padding. I kept hitting. "You want to win?" Marty said finally. "You gotta out-crazy them." I stopped, breathing hard. "What?" "Rick, Emily, whoever else is involved. They think you're predictable. They think you'll roll over, maybe get sad, maybe get a lawyer. They're not expecting you to fight back. So fight back, but do it smart, do it mean, out-crazy them." "I'm not crazy." "Then get crazy," he said. "Because nice guys don't win, Jack. You know that. I taught you that." I thought about it. Thought about Emily's smug expression when she'd mentioned my salary. Thought about Rick's cologne and his capped teeth and his affair with my wife. Thought about the text from the unknown number. "You're being watched too." "Okay," I said. "Okay." Over the next week, I became someone I didn't recognize. Someone calculating. Someone patient. Someone mean. I started with the car club. Rick was president, but I'd been a member longer. I showed up to the Thursday night meet at the old fairgrounds where guys showed off their restorations and talked shop. Rick was there with his Camaro, holding court like always. I waited until he was surrounded by an audience, then walked over. "Rick," I said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I've been meaning to ask you something. That Camaro, you financed it through your own company, right?" He looked at me warily. "Yeah. So?" "Just curious how that works. I mean, you set your own interest rates, approve your own loans? Seems like it could be a conflict of interest. Or is that just good business?" The guys around us shifted uncomfortably. In Millfield, where half the people were underwater on their mortgages, suggesting that Rick might be playing fast and loose with lending practices was like throwing a match into a gas station. "It's completely legal," Rick said tightly. "Oh, I'm sure it is," I said. "Just like those late-night meetings with clients at hotels. All completely professional, I bet." Someone laughed. Someone else said, "Wait, what?" Rick's face went red. "You need to watch yourself, Jack." "I'm just asking questions," I said. "Isn't that what we do in small towns? Ask questions? Share information? I mean, Mrs. Hanley saw us talking at the Bluebird, and by that afternoon, half the town knew about it. That's just how things work here." I walked away before he could respond. Heard the murmur of conversation behind me, speculation spreading like wildfire. Step 1. Plant the seeds of doubt. Next, I went after Emily's reputation. Not directly, I'm not stupid, but I knew how to work the gossip mill. I mentioned to the cashier at the grocery store that Emily had been working a lot of late nights lately, said it with just the right amount of concern. I told the guy who ran the hardware store that I was thinking about putting a security camera in the driveway, just in case. I let slip to the church secretary that Emily had been stressed lately, that I was worried about her. Every conversation was innocent, every comment was concerned, and every word was calculated to make people wonder, to make them look at Emily just a little differently. By the following Tuesday, when the city council met to discuss a zoning variance Emily needed for one of her developments, the room was packed. Normally, these meetings drew maybe a dozen people. Tonight, there were 50. Emily sat in the front row with Carla Benton, her business partner. Carla was a sharp woman in her 50s, always dressed like she was heading to a power lunch, always ready with a cutting remark disguised as a joke. She and Emily had been friends since college, had started their real estate business together 10 years ago. If Emily had a best friend, it was Carla. The council went through the usual preliminaries. Then they got to Emily's variance request. "Mrs. Forrest," the council president said, "you're requesting permission to rezone the old Morrison property from residential to commercial. Can you explain your plans?" Emily stood, smiled her professional smile. "Of course. We're planning to develop a small shopping plaza." I stood up in the back of the room. "I have a question," I said. Every head turned. Emily's smile froze. "Jack," the council president said, clearly uncomfortable, "this is a public forum, but—" "It's a simple question," I said. "Mrs. Forrest, can you explain why you've been meeting with Rick Morgan at the Riverside Inn to discuss this property? I'm just curious why those meetings couldn't happen during normal business hours, at an office, like professional meetings usually do." The room exploded into whispers. Emily's face went pale, then red. That's completely inappropriate," she stammered. "Is it?" I asked. "Because I have receipts, hotel receipts, credit card statements, text messages, all discussing this property, and other things, lots of other things." "Mr. Forrest," the council president said, "this is not the place." "Isn't it?" I looked around the room. "This is a public meeting. We're discussing whether to give my wife a valuable zoning variance. Don't the taxpayers have a right to know if her business practices are ethical?" I sat down. The meeting devolved into chaos. The council tabled Emily's request, pending further review. She and Carla rushed out, Emily's face buried in her hands. I stayed for the rest of the meeting, shook hands with a few people on my way out, drove home alone. When I got there, Emily's car was in the driveway, but the house was dark. I found her in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. "You bastard," she said quietly. "Me?" I asked. "I'm the bastard?" "You humiliated me, in front of the entire town." "No," I said. "You humiliated yourself. I just made sure everyone knew about it." She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "What do you want, Jack?" "I want you to understand something," I said. "You thought you could do this quietly. You thought you could have your affair, keep your reputation, keep the house, keep everything. You thought I'd just roll over and take it, but I'm not going to. Every time you lie, I'm going to expose it. Every time you try to get ahead, I'm going to knock you back down. I'm going to make you pay for every single betrayal." "That's crazy," she whispered. "Yeah," I said. "It is." I slept in the guest room that night. Around 3 in the morning, I heard Emily on the phone, crying. I didn't feel bad about it. The next day, I got another anonymous text. "You're making enemies, Jack. Stop now, or you'll regret it." I didn't stop. Instead, I printed out every text message, every email, every piece of evidence I had. I put it all in a manila envelope, and I drove to Rick Morgan's house. Jennifer Morgan answered the door. She was a thin woman with tired eyes and a smile that looked like it took effort. I'd met her a few times at school functions, back when our kids were younger. "Jack?" she said, surprised. "Is everything okay?" "No," I said. "Can I come in?" She led me to the kitchen. I sat at her table, put the envelope in front of me. "Jennifer," I said, "I need to show you something. And I'm sorry. I'm really, genuinely sorry. But you need to know." I slid the envelope across the table. She opened it, started reading. Her face went through a dozen expressions: confusion, disbelief, understanding, pain. When she got to the photos, she made a sound like she'd been punched. "How long?" she asked. "At least 6 months, maybe longer." She nodded slowly, closed the envelope, looked at me with those tired eyes. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. "Because you deserve to know," I said. "And because Rick needs to understand that actions have consequences. You want me to leave him. I want you to do whatever you need to do. But yeah, if it were me, I'd burn his life to the ground." She laughed, a bitter sound. "Your wife too?" "Already working on it," I said. I left her there, envelope in hand, drove back to the shop, waited. That night, Rick's son had a birthday party. I know because Tess had been invited before everything blew up. I know because half the town was there. And I know because Jennifer Morgan chose that moment to confront her husband in front of everyone. By the next morning, Rick had been kicked out of his house. His car was in my parking lot at the shop, and he was standing next to it, waiting for me. "You son of a bitch," he said when I got out of my truck. "Morning, Rick." "You destroyed my marriage." "No," I said. "You did that yourself. I just made sure your wife found out about it." He took a step toward me. I didn't move. "You think you're so righteous," he spat. "You think you're the victim here. But you're just a bitter, pathetic man who can't keep his wife happy." "Maybe," I said. "But at least I'm not a liar." He lunged. I sidestepped, let him stumble past me. He caught himself on the hood of his Camaro, breathing hard. "You're going to regret this," he said. "Probably," I agreed, "but you're going to regret it more." He got in his car and drove away, tires squealing. I watched him go. Then I went into my office and found another anonymous text waiting. "Last warning, Jack. Back off, or else." I stared at it for a long time. Then I texted back. "Or else what?" No response. But that night, someone spray-painted cheater across the hood of Rick's Camaro in acid yellow paint. The security camera at the car club lot caught a figure in a hoodie, but the face was obscured. I didn't do it. But I smiled when I heard about it. The town chose sides. It wasn't subtle and it wasn't pretty. Emily's friends, the real estate crowd, the country club set, the women who did yoga together and posted about it on Instagram, they rallied around her. They called me controlling, abusive, unhinged. They said I was having a breakdown, that I needed help, that Emily was the real victim here. My side was smaller. Marty, of course, a few of the regulars at the shop, some of the old-timers who remembered when a handshake meant something. But mostly, I was alone. Tess was caught in the middle. Her phone blew up with messages from friends, from classmates, from people who wanted gossip. One of her friends posted a TikTok calling me Millfield's saddest dad, complete with a sad violin soundtrack. It got 3,000 views in 2 days. Tess showed it to me, her face tight with anger and embarrassment. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be," she said. "They're idiots." But I could see it hurt her, could see her pulling away, spending more time in her room, less time at the shop. She was 16. She didn't ask for any of this. Neither did I, but here we were. I cut off Emily's access to our joint accounts. Legally questionable, maybe, but I didn't care anymore. I stopped doing repairs around the house. The leaky faucet stayed leaky, the squeaky door stayed squeaky. I started sleeping at the shop more nights than not, on an old couch in the office that smelled like motor oil and regret. Emily responded by moving into the guest room, then by moving into a hotel, then by moving in with Carla. Good. Let Carla deal with her. But something was nagging at me, those anonymous texts, the warning to back off, the sense that there was more going on than just an affair. I started digging deeper, went through Emily's laptop while she was out. She'd left it at the house, probably figured I wouldn't know her password. She was wrong. It was the same as her phone, our anniversary. Some habits die hard. I found an encrypted folder buried in her documents. Took me 3 hours and a YouTube tutorial to crack it, but I got in. Inside were emails, dozens of them. Between Emily and Rick, yes, but also between Emily and Carla, and between Carla and Rick, and between Carla and people I didn't recognize. I started reading. The affair had started 8 months ago at a real estate conference in Indianapolis. Rick had approached Emily at the hotel bar, bought her a drink, told her she was too smart and too beautiful to be stuck with a mechanic in a dying town. Classic lines, but apparently they worked. But the affair wasn't the interesting part. The interesting part was Carla. Carla had encouraged it, had helped cover for Emily, had provided alibis, had even booked hotel rooms using her own credit card. She'd been the architect of the whole thing, feeding Rick and Emily opportunities, pushing them together. Why? I kept reading. Found an email from 3 years ago from Carla to someone named David Chen, a lawyer in Indianapolis. I want to know my options, Carla had written. Jack Forrest fired me from his shop in 2018 when I tried to organize the mechanics. I want to know if I can sue for wrongful termination or if there's another way to make him pay. I sat back, staring at the screen. Carla Benton, Emily's best friend and business partner, had worked for me. Briefly. 5 years ago, she'd taken a part-time bookkeeping job at the shop while she was building her real estate business, and she'd tried to unionize my 3 mechanics, despite the fact that I paid them above market rate and gave them full benefits. I'd fired her, politely, legally, with severance pay, but I'd fired her, and she'd been planning revenge ever since. The affair wasn't about Emily wanting someone better. It wasn't even about Rick being charming. It was about Carla manipulating both of them, using them to destroy my marriage, my reputation, my life. I printed everything, every email, every text, every piece of evidence, stuffed it all in a box, and sat there in my office, trying to process what I'd learned. My wife had betrayed me, but my wife had been manipulated into betraying me by someone I'd barely thought about in years. The question was, what was I going to do about it? The answer came to me around 2 a.m, sitting in my office with a cold cup of coffee and a head full of rage. I was going to expose all of them. Not quietly, not legally, not through lawyers and divorce proceedings. I was going to drag every dirty secret into the light and make sure the whole town saw exactly who these people were. But I needed a stage. I needed an audience. I needed a moment they couldn't ignore or explain away, and I knew exactly when and where to do it. The Millfield Car Club held its monthly meet at the old rail yard on the east side of town. The yard had been abandoned for 20 years, just a stretch of cracked asphalt and rusted tracks where freight trains used to load. Now it was where gearheads showed off their rides, where high school kids went to race illegally, where the town's underbelly came out to play. Rick was still president, despite everything. The club was his kingdom, his place to shine. And the next meet was in 3 days. I made some calls, told people I had an announcement to make, something big, something they wouldn't want to miss. I let slip that it involved Rick and Emily. I mentioned there might be evidence, might be proof, might be a show. By the day of the meet, everyone knew something was going down. I showed up early, rented a projector and a portable screen, the kind they use for outdoor movies, set it up facing the crowd, loaded my laptop with every email, every text, every photo, organized it into a presentation that would make a prosecutor weep. People started arriving around 7. More than usual, word had spread. I saw Rick pull in with his repainted Camaro, saw Emily and Carla arrive together in Carla's Mercedes, saw Jennifer Morgan, Rick's ex-wife, standing in the back with her arms crossed, saw half the town council, the guys from the car club, the real estate agents, the gossips, the rubberneckers. Perfect. At 8 o'clock, I climbed onto the hood of my truck and whistled for attention. "Thanks for coming," I said. "I know you're here for the cars, but I've got something I need to share first. Something I think you all need to see." "Jack, don't do this," Emily called from the crowd. "Do what?" I asked. "Tell the truth? I thought that's what we were all about in Millfield. Community, honesty, looking out for each other." I clicked the remote. The projector hummed to life. The first image was a text message from Emily to Rick. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Jack's working late again, as usual." The crowd murmured. The second image was a hotel receipt. The Riverside Inn, room 237, charged to Carla Benton's credit card. The murmur got louder. The third image was an email from Carla to Emily. "Don't feel guilty. Jack's been holding you back for years. You deserve better. Rick can give you that." Now people were talking, pointing, pulling out their phones to take pictures of the screen. I kept clicking, showed them everything. The affair, the manipulation, the lies. Showed them Carla's emails about revenge, her role in orchestrating the whole thing. Showed them Rick's history of creative lending practices, his habit of mixing business with pleasure. Showed them Emily's texts about me, about our marriage, about how she was just waiting for the right moment to leave. I showed them everything. "This is insane!" Rick shouted, pushing through the crowd toward me. "You can't just—" "Can't what?" I asked. "Can't show people the truth? Can't defend myself? Can't fight back when my wife and her best friend destroy my life for fun?" "It wasn't like that," Emily said, and she was crying now, mascara running down her face. "Carla, tell them—" But Carla was already backing toward her car, phone in hand, face pale. "Tell them what?" I called after her. "Tell them how you've been planning this for 5 years? Tell them how you used Emily and Rick like puppets? Tell them how this was never about love or attraction, just about hurting me?" She ran. Actually ran, heels clicking on the asphalt, got in her Mercedes and peeled out. Rick took a swing at me. I saw it coming, ducked, and drove my fist into his gut. He folded, gasping. I grabbed him by his collar, pulled him close. "You ruined my marriage," I said quietly, just for him. "So I ruined your life. We're even now." I let him go. He collapsed onto the asphalt, wheezing. The crowd was chaos. People shouting, filming, arguing. Emily was sobbing. Jennifer Morgan was smiling. The town council members were already leaving, probably planning emergency meetings. I packed up my projector, loaded it into my truck, started the engine. "Where are you going?" Tess asked. She'd appeared beside my window, phone in hand, eyes wide. "I don't know yet," I said. "But I'm done with this town. Done with all of it." "Can I come?" I looked at my daughter, 16 years old, her mother's eyes, my stubborn chin. "Yeah," I said. "You can come." She climbed in. I drove away from the rail yard, away from the chaos, away from Millfield. In my rearview mirror, I saw Emily standing alone in the crowd, watching us go. I didn't look back again. We drove for 2 hours before either of us spoke. Tess stared out the window at the dark Indiana countryside rolling past, farms and fields, and the occasional lit window of a house where normal people were living normal lives. "Where are we going?" she asked finally. "Honestly, I have no idea. Mom's going to freak out. Let her." Tess was quiet for another mile. Then, "Was it all true? Everything you showed them? Every word? Even the part about Carla?" "Especially that part." She processed this. So Mom didn't just wake up one day and decide to cheat. Carla pushed her into it. Carla created the opportunity. Emily made the choice. That's a pretty fine distinction, Dad. Maybe, I said, but it's an important one. We stopped at a truck stop outside Gary. I bought us coffee and sandwiches that tasted like cardboard. We sat in a booth by the window, watching semis pull in and out, drivers coming and going, everyone heading somewhere. What are you going to do? Tess asked. I don't know. Sell the shop maybe. Start over somewhere else. Somewhere people don't know me. And Mom? Your mom made her choices. She can live with them. She's still my mom. I know, I said. And when you're ready to talk to her, I won't stop you. But right now, I need some distance. I need to not be in Millfield. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally, I looked. 37 missed calls, 62 text messages, most from Emily, some from numbers I didn't recognize, a few from Marty. I opened Marty's first. Kid, what the hell did you do? Town's going crazy. Police are looking for you. Call me. Police? Right. Because I'd assaulted Rick, technically. I called Marty. Where are you? He asked immediately. Somewhere else. Jack, you need to come back. Rick's pressing charges. Says you attacked him. He swung first. Can you prove that? About 50 people saw it. And about 50 people saw you humiliate him first. Jack, I'm on your side, but you need to be smart here. Come back. Talk to a lawyer. Do this right. I'm done doing things right, I said. Doing things right got me a cheating wife and a town that thinks I'm the villain. You're not the villain, but you're not helping yourself either. I hung up. Tess was watching me. We should go back, she said. No. Dad, if you run, it makes you look guilty. I am guilty. I hit him. I exposed them. I did everything they're going to accuse me of doing. So what? You just disappear? Leave everything behind? Why not? I asked. What's left for me there? Your business, your house, your life. My business will survive without me. Marty can run it. The house is just a building. And my life... I laughed bitterly. My life was a lie. I was married to a woman who didn't love me, living in a town that never respected me, being the nice guy everyone took advantage of. I'm done with that life. So you're just going to become someone else? Somewhere else? Maybe. She shook her head. That's not you, Dad. You don't run. You face things head on, even when it sucks. Especially when it sucks. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just never noticed because you were too busy being the nice guy. That stung, because it was true. We sat there for a while longer. Then my phone rang. Emily. I almost didn't answer, but Tess was watching me, and I could hear her voice in my head. You don't run. What? I said. Jack, please, Emily said, and she was crying again. Please come home, we need to talk. We needed to talk 8 months ago, before you started screwing Rick Morgan. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But running away isn't going to fix anything. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm trying to get away from you. What about Tess? I looked at my daughter. She was watching me, waiting. Tess is with me, I said. You can't just take her. She came willingly. Ask her yourself. I handed Tess the phone. Mom? Tess said. Listened. No, I'm fine. Dad didn't kidnap me. Jesus, I wanted to leave. More listening. Because you humiliated him. You humiliated both of us. And I needed to get away from it. Pause. I don't know. Maybe. But not tonight. She handed me back the phone. Satisfied? I asked Emily. The police are looking for you. Marty told me. Rick's in the hospital. That stopped me. What? You hit him. He has a broken rib. He's pressing charges for assault. He swung first. That's not what he's saying. And Carla's backing him up. Says you attacked him unprovoked. Of course she was. Carla was fighting for her own survival now. Let them press charges, I said. I'll deal with it. Jack, please, come home. We'll figure this out together. There is no together anymore, Emily. You made sure of that. I hung up. Tess was quiet. Then, broken rib? Apparently. You hit him pretty hard. He earned it. She almost smiled. So what now? Now, I said, we go back, we face this, and we end it. How? I'm still working on that part. We drove back to Millfield, arrived around midnight. The town was dark and quiet, like nothing had happened. But I knew better. I knew that behind every darkened window, people were talking, texting, spreading the story of what I'd done. I dropped Tess at Marty's house. She didn't want to go home, and I didn't blame her. Then I drove to the police station and walked in. I'm Jack Forrest, I told the officer at the desk. I understand you're looking for me. They arrested me, read me my rights, put me in a cell that smelled like disinfectant and desperation. I sat on the metal bench and waited. A lawyer showed up around 2 a.m. Public defender, young guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mr. Forrest, he said, I'm David Brennan. I've been assigned to your case. Great. You're being charged with assault. Rick Morgan claims you attacked him without provocation at the rail yard. Do you have a statement? He swung first. I defended myself. There were 50 witnesses. Mr. Morgan and Ms. Benton say otherwise. Of course they do. Brennan sighed. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This doesn't look good. You have a clear motive. Your wife's affair. You publicly humiliated multiple people. You have a history of confrontations with Mr. Morgan. The prosecutor is going to paint you as an angry, violent man who couldn't control his temper. And what are you going to do? My job. But I need you to work with me. I need you to show remorse, to take responsibility, to... No, I said. No, I'm not showing remorse. I'm not taking responsibility for defending myself. Rick Morgan destroyed my marriage. Carla Benton manipulated my wife. Emily betrayed me. And when I exposed them, Rick attacked me. I'm not the villain here. The court might disagree. Then I'll take my chances. Brennan left. I sat in the cell, staring at the ceiling, thinking. I'd burned it all down. My marriage, my reputation, my place in the community. I'd exposed everyone's secrets, humiliated my enemies, and ended up in jail. And I didn't regret a single second of it. Around dawn, Marty showed up. They let him talk to me through the bars. You okay? He asked. I've been better. Tess is fine, sleeping on my couch. She's worried about you. Tell her I'm okay. Are you? I thought about it. Yeah, I am. For the first time in months, I actually am. Marty nodded slowly. You know this isn't over, right? Rick's going to push for the maximum penalty. Emily's going to file for divorce and go after everything. Carla's going to try to bury you. Let them try. Jack. Marty, I spent 20 years being the nice guy, being reasonable, being the bigger person. And where did it get me? A cheating wife, a town that doesn't respect me, and a cell in the county jail. I'm done playing by their rules. So what's your plan? I'm going to win. How? I'm still working on that part. They released me on bail that afternoon. $10,000, posted by Marty against my protests. I walked out of the police station into bright sunshine and a crowd of reporters. Apparently, my story had made the news. Local mechanics revenge plot shocks small town. Man exposes wife's affair in dramatic public confrontation. Millfield divided over assault charges. I pushed through them without comment, got in Marty's truck. You're famous, he said. Great. Seriously, Jack, this is everywhere. Local news, social media, even some national outlets picked it up. You're a meme. A meme. Millfield's saddest dad is trending. There are TikToks, Twitter threads, think pieces about toxic masculinity and small-town values. You're a cultural moment. I put my head in my hands. I just wanted to expose the truth. Well, you did. and now everyone has an opinion about it. He drove me back to my shop. The parking lot was full, not with customers, but with reporters, curiosity seekers, and what looked like protesters. Some held signs supporting me. Justice for Jack. Others condemned me. Violence is never the answer. Jesus, I muttered. It gets better, Marty said. Emily's doing interviews, so's Rick. They're both playing the victim, saying you're dangerous, unstable, that they're afraid of you. Of course they are. And Carla disappeared, closed her real estate office, stopped answering her phone. Rumor is she left town. That was interesting. Carla running meant she had something to hide, something worse than what I'd already exposed. I need to find her, I said. Why? Because she's the key to all of this. She orchestrated everything. If I can prove that, if I can show that Emily and Rick were manipulated, it doesn't change the fact that you hit Rick. No, but it changes the story. Marty looked at me. You're not going to let this go, are you? Would you? Probably not. I spent the next 3 days digging, called in favors, talked to people, followed leads, learned that Carla had a storage unit on the edge of town, learned that she'd been there the night before she disappeared, loading boxes into her Mercedes. I drove to the storage facility. It was one of those cheap, run-down places where people kept things they couldn't bear to throw away but didn't want to look at. Rows of orange metal doors, combination locks, weeds growing through the asphalt. Carla's unit was number 47. The lock was still on it. I could have walked away. Should have walked away. But I didn't. I went back to my shop, got bolt cutters, returned at 2 a.m, cut the lock, opened the door. Inside were boxes, dozens of them. I opened the first one, documents, financial records, emails, and something else, a ledger, handwritten, detailing payments to Rick Morgan, payments from Carla's accounts, dating back 3 years. I opened more boxes, found more records, found evidence that Carla had been paying Rick long before the affair started. Paying him to… what? I kept reading. And then I understood. Carla hadn't just manipulated Emily and Rick into an affair. She'd been embezzling from their real estate business for years, siphoning money through fake vendors and inflated expenses. And she'd paid Rick to help her cover it up, using his position at the mortgage company to create false documentation. The affair was a bonus, a way to destroy me while keeping Emily distracted from the missing money. I took photos of everything, loaded the most damning documents into my truck, left the storage unit open. By morning, I had enough evidence to bury Carla, and to prove that Emily had been a pawn in a much bigger game. I called my lawyer. I need to make a deal, I said. The Founders' Day Festival was a Millfield tradition going back 100 years. Every September, the town shut down Main Street, set up booths and rides, and pretended for one weekend that we weren't a dying industrial town with more empty storefronts than open ones. This year, the festival fell 2 weeks after my arrest, 2 weeks after I'd exposed Emily and Rick, 2 weeks after the town had divided itself into camps, Team Jack and Team Emily, with most people landing somewhere in the middle, just enjoying the drama. The festival committee tried to cancel my booth. I'd sponsored the same spot for 15 years, right on the corner of Main and Oak, where I'd set up a display about automotive history and hand out free air pressure checks. But after everything that happened, they said it wouldn't be appropriate. I showed up anyway, set up my tent at 6 a.m. before anyone could stop me. Hung my banner, Forrest Auto Body, 20 years of honest service. Put out my chairs, my pamphlets, my air compressor, and I waited. People started arriving around 10. Families with kids, teenagers looking for something to do, old-timers who came every year out of habit. They saw me and did one of 3 things: hurried past without making eye contact, stopped to shake my hand and tell me they supported me, or stopped to tell me I was a disgrace. I smiled at all of them. Around noon, Emily showed up. She was with Rick. Of course she was with Rick. because apparently they'd decided to make it official now that everything was out in the open. They walked past my booth like I didn't exist. I let them go. I had bigger plans. At 2 o'clock, the festival committee held their annual ceremony on the main stage. Mayor gives a speech, local businesses get recognized, someone sings the national anthem. It's boring and predictable, and everyone attends because there's nothing else to do. I made my way to the stage. The committee president saw me coming and tried to block me, but I walked right past him, up the steps, to the microphone. "Hi, Millfield," I said. The crowd went silent. Hundreds of people staring at me. "I'm Jack Forrest. Some of you know me. Some of you think you know me. Some of you have been talking about me for the past 2 weeks without knowing a damn thing." "Mr. Forrest," the mayor said behind me, "this is not appropriate." "Nothing about the last 2 weeks has been appropriate," I said. "So let's just roll with it." I pulled out my phone, connected it to the stage's sound system, pulled up the photos I'd taken from Carla's storage unit. "I want to tell you all a story," I said, "about betrayal, about manipulation, about how sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones destroying you." I showed them the financial records, explained how Carla had been embezzling from her business with Emily, showed them the payments to Rick, the false documents, the paper trail of fraud that stretched back years. "My wife didn't just decide to have an affair," I said. "She was manipulated into it by someone she trusted. Someone who needed her distracted while she stole hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when I started asking questions, when I started digging, that same person tried to destroy me." The crowd was murmuring now, pulling out phones, taking pictures of the screen. "I'm not innocent," I said. "I hit Rick Morgan. I exposed my wife's affair in the cruelest way possible. I let my anger turn me into someone I don't recognize. But I'm not the villain here. Carla Benton is." "This is slander," someone shouted. Emily, pushing through the crowd toward the stage. "It's not slander if it's true," I said, "and I've got 3 boxes of evidence to prove it, which I've already turned over to the FBI. That stopped her, stopped everyone. "The FBI?" the mayor asked. "Wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Turns out when you steal enough money and cross state lines to do it, the feds get interested." I looked at Emily. "Your business partner destroyed you. She destroyed both of us, and she's been gone for 2 weeks because she knew I was getting close to figuring it out." Emily's face was white. "I didn't know. Jack, I swear, I didn't know." "I believe you," I said, and I meant it. "You were a pawn. We both were. Carla played us against each other while she robbed you blind." Rick was trying to leave, pushing through the crowd toward the parking lot. I pointed at him. "Rick knew," I said. "He helped her. Check his bank accounts. You'll find the payments. Check his mortgage files. You'll find the false documents. He's as guilty as she is." 2 police officers moved to intercept Rick. He tried to run. Didn't get far. I turned back to the crowd. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just asking you to know the truth. All of it. Not just the parts that make good gossip." I disconnected my phone, stepped away from the microphone. The crowd erupted. Questions, shouts, chaos. The mayor was yelling. The police were trying to restore order. Emily was crying. I walked off the stage. Marty was waiting at the bottom of the steps. "That was insane," he said. "Yeah. You know the FBI's really involved?" "As of yesterday, I gave them everything." "And Rick?" "He's going to jail. So's Carla, when they find her." "And Emily?" I looked across the crowd, found my wife standing alone, surrounded by people but completely isolated. She looked lost, broken. "Emily's a victim too," I said. "She made bad choices, but she was manipulated into making them. I can't forgive her, but I can understand her." "So what now?" "Now?" I smiled. "Now I leave. Sell the shop, sell the house, start over somewhere else. Somewhere people don't know my story." "You're really going?" I'm really going. Tess found me an hour later. The festival was winding down, police were still interviewing people, and I was packing up my booth. That was quite a speech, she said. You heard? Everyone heard. It's already on YouTube. Of course it was. Are you really leaving? She asked. Yeah. Can I still come? I looked at my daughter, 16 years old, her mother's eyes, my stubborn chin, the best thing I'd ever done. You should stay with your mom, I said. She's going to need you. And you've got school, friends, your life here. My life here sucks. It'll get better. Will it? She crossed her arms. Everyone's going to be talking about this for years. I'll always be the daughter of the guy who exposed his wife's affair at Founder's Day. That's my legacy now. I'm sorry. Don't be. You did what you had to do. You told the truth. That's more than most people in this town can say. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never noticed. I hugged her. She hugged me back, fierce and tight. I'll visit, she said, wherever you end up. I'll count on it. I finished packing, loaded everything into my truck, drove through Millfield one last time, past the shop, past the house, past all the places that used to mean something. At the town limits, I stopped, looked back. Millfield was dying, had been dying for years. The factories weren't coming back. The young people were leaving. The ones who stayed were the ones who couldn't or wouldn't leave, clinging to a past that was never as good as they remembered. I'd been one of them. Clinging to a marriage that was broken, a reputation that was built on being nice instead of being real, a life that looked good from the outside but was hollow inside. Not anymore. I drove away. Didn't look back again. 3 months later, I got a call from my lawyer. Rick Morgan had pleaded guilty to fraud and conspiracy. He was looking at 5 years in federal prison. Carla Benton had been arrested in Arizona, trying to cross into Mexico. She was facing 20 years. Emily had filed for divorce. I didn't contest it. She got the house. I didn't want it. She got half the savings. She'd earned it. I kept the shop, which I sold to Marty for $1 and the promise that he'd take care of my guys. The assault charges against me were dropped. Turns out when 50 people testify that Rick swung first, it's hard to make a case for unprovoked attack. I was free. Completely, totally free. I bought a small garage in Montana, a place where nobody knew my name or my story. Started over. Fixed cars, kept my head down, lived quietly. Tess visited twice that first year. We went hiking, talked about everything and nothing, rebuilt our relationship one conversation at a time. Emily sent me a letter, said she was sorry, said she understood why I did what I did, said she hoped someday I could forgive her. I wrote back, told her I already had, because here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't heal the wounds or erase the betrayal. It just burns everything down and leaves you standing in the ashes, wondering what comes next. But sometimes, burning it down is the only way to start over. Sometimes, you have to become the villain to remember who you really are. And sometimes, the last honest man in a dishonest town is the one who walks away. I was that man, and I walked away.